They done messed around and put me and Big Sarge together to talk about the Texans and the Jaguars. Sarge, you ready, brother?
Hey, man, let's get it.
All right. Locked on Jaguars, locked on Texans, crossover.
You are Locked On NFL Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What up, good people in Jacksonville and Houston? I'm Tony Wiggins. He is Big Sarge, and this is the crossover edition, the Thursday crossover, sponsored by Prize Picks. Each and every Thursday here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Crossover Thursday presented by Prize Picks. Download the app and use the code Locked On NFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Shout out to the everydayers that listen to both podcasts. Here's what we're going to do today, man. Every Thursday, you know, when we got a big game, we're going to keys to victory at the end, right smack in the middle. We'll hit the big storylines, and we're going to start talking with Big Sarge, and I'm going to let him grill me about the Jaguars, man. First of all, pleasure to meet you. Y'all don't know this, but we talked for 45 minutes before we started recording.
We sure did.
Two old veterans. We got a lot in common. It sounds like we kicked some of the same dirt back in the day, Sarge. We might have to get together and drink a little brown something. You know what I mean?
Man, for sure, man. And look, I tell people all the time, hey, look, this ain't donut residue, man. This gray hair. You know, we sitting there talking like we on the porch.
I know it, man. I finally got somebody to speak my language. I ain't got to apologize for sounding old. Sarge, I made me a pot of beans the other day with some potatoes in it, man. I was so happy. I was just sounding old out here, man. I'm like, right. You happy about a pot of beans, man? Look, you people don't want to hear about this old foolishness, man. But look, let's talk about this game this weekend. I have a weird angle I'll play with you since you are the guest, right? And you can ask me anything. I'm going to let you just go ahead and get into it, man, because I think this is a huge, huge game for a lot of reasons, and I talked about it today on Locked On Jaguars.
Look, and I believe that it's a huge game as well. And when we talk about it from the Texans angle, I'll tell you why. But I want to ask you, okay, what is it with the Jacksonville Jaguars and them not getting rid of Doug Pederson? And the reason why I ask it, I know that Doug Pederson is a Super Bowl winning coach. I like Doug Pederson a lot. I think what he did when he was with Philadelphia was really good. But what he's done since he's been with the Jacksonville Jaguars, the epic collapse last year in 2023 was one of those things that I thought that would have gotten him fired. But if Mike McCarthy can keep a job in Dallas, then anybody can keep a job. So, you know, and with the way, and I put it like this, I don't want to take a shot at Doug Pederson because I believe that the Jacksonville Jaguars have a lot of talent on that team. So I'm trying to figure out, how did they underachieve last season and that carried over into this year?
Good questions, all of it. I'm gonna hit you real quick with it. It's first of all, the early success they had was fool's gold. Gotcha. They weren't that good. They just got hot, and that happened, and you can't ignore it. So most times coaches say, "Ooh, we building on something. We did this with a bunch of young players in our first year together. Let's just leave it like that, and there'll be this natural progression." Well, no, the natural progression was inconsistency, because let me tell you what happened. They actually started that year out 2-7. All right.
Yeah.
And they won a whole bunch of games down the stretch and ended up 9-8.
Yeah.
The next year, they started out 8-3 and they ended up 9-8. So what it is they've been inconsistent, wildly inconsistent in different directions in consecutive seasons. So that's just who they are. They still play that way right now, and it's going to lead to something. I'm going to tell you, it might happen again. They're 2-9 right now, but watch.
Yeah.
But the reason why Doug Pederson gets grace is because Shad Khan is very, very patient. In fact, the fans here think that he should be firing people 2 years before.
Yeah.
And so that's the one thing. But the other thing is, historically, you know, the Jaguars that never had 2 winning seasons in a row.
Well, wow.
And guess what he did? He went 9-8 and 9-8. And here's the kicker. He followed King Joffrey. And I call Urban Meyer King Joffrey because that's exactly how he was acting. If you're a Game of Thrones fan, that's the worst character I've ever seen. Urban Meyer. The Urban Meyer experience here,
yes,
for me covering the team, was the most unprofessional, worst thing I have ever seen. I have never seen people who walk around the building, people that work in operations, they look like the Walking Dead like 2 weeks after he got here.
Yeah.
And then you heard all of those stories. So it was like the worst disaster ever, worse than Bobby Petrino, worse than all of that. It was like he was a madman. Okay. Mm-hmm. So they got rid of him, and it was coming off of a couple of the worst Jaguar seasons they'd ever had. So he had like 3 years of misery. Mm-hmm. And then Doug comes in here and does something he's never done. And then Doug is very, very nice. He's very approachable. He's a good man. It's hard to get rid of a dude like that, but they're tired now. Fans done had it, man. They're ready to run him and everybody associated with him out of Jacksonville.
And I can see that, Wig. That's why I'm saying, like, you all have that team has the talent and has had the talent for 2 years in a row. I mean, you even went out and you paid Trevor Lawrence. You gave him the money. And that's what I'm saying. And I understand that Trevor Lawrence has, dealt with some injuries this year. But last season, I'm looking at him and I'm saying, this is a guy who was so successful in college and was gifted the franchise quarterback tag before he even was drafted. Anyway, they said anywhere he went to, he was going to be the franchise quarterback. So that's what I can't understand on how they haven't been able to put that thing together.
I'll tell you how, and I'm going to use your team as an example.
Mm-hmm.
CJ Stroud was very, very good last year. I thought he did too many podcasts and all that, but hanging around camera rolls. But that's a whole nother story, right? He's a young kid. Let him have a little fun, right? Yeah. This year, somebody I actually know personally, Laramie Tunsil. He ain't looking like Laramie Tunsil. And then the interior of the offensive line is terrible. So when the line doesn't play well, it makes the entire operation look terrible. It's probably going to cost Bobby Slowick a chance to get a head coaching job this year.
Oh, for sure.
Jacksonville's offensive line has never even been average.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, you think about his success in Philly, dog. He had probably 3 first ballot Hall of Famers. Yeah,
that's true.
Kelsey, Lane Johnson. And then on the other side, he had the big dude, Jason Peters. I mean, come on. And those other dudes, the ones that are playing now that backed them up, they were pretty good too. So if you don't have a dominant offensive line, it will tear your whole program apart. And sometimes they have to go sideways with the ball, and they have to get rid of the ball really, really fast because they know Trevor's going to be running for his life.
But didn't you all give up your left tackle to the Minnesota Vikings?
Yeah, Well, so
we're talking about
I'm surprised with the way he played the last couple of years. I'm surprised they have to pay Minnesota a 4th round pick to take him. So he wasn't that much better than Walker Little, who they're trying to see the rest of the season. Little's contract is about to run out. Cam's contract was about to run out. So they said, let's save some money. We had lost all those games. He wasn't playing too much better than the other kid anyway. And it was a golden opportunity to trade a veteran player to a team that at least is making a playoff run because he fits in a little bit different there than he does here.
Well, real quickly, what do you expect from the Jacksonville Jaguars coming off the bye week?
They're going to play hard.
Texans.
They're going to play hard. And I'm going to tell you why. They always seem to play the Texans tough. I think Trevor Lawrence has always kind of had a chip on his shoulder once CJ Stroud started playing well, because the last 2 times, Trevor has actually had the 2 best games I've ever seen him have, both against Houston, right? Mm-hmm. So the deal is, and they've both been in Houston. So the deal with them now is they have now seen the value of Trevor Lawrence, because without him, the offense was putrid. They haven't been able to do anything with Mac Jones as the quarterback. So now you really see it's not him. It's a lot of the things going on around him that's really, really the problem. So his value actually went up. But here's the thing. The Jaguars, when you count them out, they play like this. And I know Trevor came back this week because they saw an opportunity. And here's the opportunity. They're 2-9.
Mm-hmm.
If they win this game, they're going to be favored in those last 5 games. They got the Titans twice, they got the Jets, and they got the Raiders, and then they got the Colts. Okay? They're going to be favored in all of those games.
Yeah.
If they beat Texans, that means they win 6 in a row and they end up 8-9. Now watch this.
Yeah.
Look at Houston's schedule.
Yeah.
If Houston, the only game they're probably going to be favored in after this Jaguar game, the 5 games they got left, is the one they play against Tennessee at the end of the year. And even if they win that game, bro, look who they got on that.
They're going to be favored against Miami too.
Not right now. The way they're playing, and Tua, they've been winning.
Tua ain't played against a defense like the Texans.
I got you. And you're right. But my thing is, it's not out of the question that they lose that game, and they lose the Baltimore game, and they lose the Chiefs game. So my thing is, If they both end up 8-9, the Jaguars, if they run the table, will be 5-1 in division. Guess who wins the tiebreaker? This is the kind of stuff they've been doing, bro. This is what they did 2 years ago. And they are licking their chops because Houston is kind of, they're kind of hurting a little bit. And they lost 3 out of the last 4. That's what we're going to talk about as soon as we switch this up here on the crossover edition of Locked On Jaguars and Locked On Texans. Big Sarge, T-Wig. I'll never say we'll be back, but just hold tight for a minute. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action this Sunday with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to take place and to make live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Rolling along here on Locked On Jaguars and Locked On Texans. Big Sarge in the house with me, Tony Wiggins. He grilled me in the last segment about the Jaguars, and I'm about to do the same thing with those Houston Texans. What is going on? I know I described it a little bit with the offensive line and with CJ. DeMeco Ryans always looks like he has it together. I've seen him at the podium the last couple of weeks, and he don't look like the same DeMeco Ryans.
Well, and it's because the expectations for this Houston Texans team was so high when you're coming into a season with that amount of talent. The Houston Texans have never had that amount of talent on both sides of the ball. When you're talking about CJ Stroud, and then they went out and they, along with Nico Collins and Tank Dell, they went out and got running back Joe Mixon and Stephon Diggs.
Yes, sir.
And so they've never had that type of talent on the offensive side of the ball. Then you look on the defensive side of the ball, and you got Will Anderson, you got Danielle Hunter, you got Azeez Al-Shaair, you got Foley Fatukasi, you got Danico Autry, Tim Settle Jr. So, that's a lot of talent. The talent on both sides of the ball brings a lot of expectations, especially coming off the year that they had last year, where CJ won NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year and Will won Defensive Rookie of the Year. And then you had DeMeco, who got robbed of Coach of the Year. Right. And so, that's a lot of expectations. You go out and you add to that team who won the AFC South, who won a wild card game, and had the #1 team in the AFC and the Baltimore Ravens tied at 10 at the half. And then the war of attrition just kicked in because the Texans didn't have those type of horses. And so you fast forward to this year. The main problem, there's 2 main problems. Well, 2.5. It's like a spades game. You know what I'm saying?
2 in a possible.
Yeah, I got 2 in a possible, right? So the first thing is the offensive line. And it starts with the interior offensive line. Something that the Chicago Bears exposed in week 2 was they in that interior, and that's when they had Kenyon Green, Juice Scruggs, and Shaq Mason, right? Left guard, center, right guard. What the Chicago Bears did was they exposed the fact that they couldn't pick up stunts and they couldn't pick up delayed blitz. And in the NFL, it's a copycat league. And so every other team played them like that. And here's the thing, though. During OTAs, during training camp, that group, that unit didn't play together until the end of the season. I mean, to the end of preseason. And so you look at it, Kenyon Green has sat out the entire year due to an injury. So this is his first time playing in a Bobby Slowick offense. Juice Scruggs, when he came back from injury, played left guard, and Jared Patterson played center. He played 2 games at center in the playoffs. And then Laramie was dealing with the injury. Titus dealing with the injury. So now I don't know why Nick Caserio, the general manager, just thought that everything was going to come together at one point, and they'd be like, hey, look, if everything breaks down, just give it to CJ. So with that being said, you got the interior offensive line and the line out playing like it's supposed to. Then you got Bobby Slowick, and who I've said, now don't get me wrong, Bobby is a great guy. We talk to Bobby every week, and he is a really good guy. But I also think that at some point, Bobby realized, hey, man, this is a lot of talent for a second-year offensive coordinator. You know who should be calling these plays? Matt LaFleur, Kevin O'Connell, McVay. You know, there's other coaches that probably should be calling this type of offense before I do, because you got a lot of mouths to feed and you got a lot of dogs on the offensive side of the ball at the skill positions. I didn't even mention Dalton Schultz and the rookie Cade Stover. So now you're trying to call these plays, but you're also trying to protect CJ. But now the formations that you're calling condensed formations and still not giving CJ enough time. You're calling 7-step drops, knowing that CJ doesn't have the protection. And so between the offensive line, with the play calling to Bobby Slowick, now you get to CJ, who came in, and I think that the expectations and the bar set on him by the team, I'm like, you're a second-year quarterback. You should be able to grow into mature into that. I asked Bobby Slowick about that last time we spoke with him. I said he should be able to grow into that. How high did you all set the bar? It seems like you gave him 4-year veteran type plays, and he's still just 23 years old and hasn't even played 2 full seasons yet. So now he's regressed. And now that he's regressed, he doesn't look as superhuman. Now, I'm not talking about the numbers, because even CJ said at the press conference, the numbers, that's cool. I go off the eye test, and I know that I'm not playing well. So those are the reasons why you see them lose to a 2-win Jet team that had a 5-game losing streak, a 2-game winning Tennessee Titans last Sunday. And now guess what? I said this earlier. It's crazy because the Jets only had 2 wins and they lost. The Titans only had 2 wins and they lost. How many wins Jacksonville got?
Come on. 2.
See, and I'm saying you cannot play down to your competition, because then eventually you become the bad competition.
You do. That makes a lot of sense, man. You can't play down to your competition. I think CJ is fixable. I just see a dude with happy feet, and there's nothing wrong with making a guy or being able to play off schedule, but you don't want to play off schedule all game. And CJ is best with me when he drops back and he plants and he lets it go. I always compared his mechanics, not his body type, to Troy Aikman, because that's what Aikman did. Aikman dropped back. When that back foot hit, that ball was coming. Yes. And with a nice loft to it, there wasn't nothing, no kind of throw. But now you got a dude who plays his best on schedule, even though he knows how to play off schedule. He's totally playing off schedule right now because of the interior of the offensive line. He looked like Trevor Lawrence does when Trevor don't have a good game, man, because they're doing a lot of the same things. All right, we're going to go keys to victory. I'm going to see if Big Sarge want to make a prediction. I mean, I'm going to make a prediction, but I ain't going to necessarily give him a score.
I ain't going to give you a score either, but the Texans going to win. Like,
see that? You doing it already, man. Look at you. See those Army dudes? I'm Air Force. He's Army. They always trying to skip the line. They can't follow simple instructions. We're going to get to that in just a minute in segment 3 here on the crossover edition of Locked On Jaguars and Locked On Texans. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Game Time. I know, man, sometimes you got to be late. Me and Sarge, we were military dudes. We were never late to anything, but we civilians now, we old. So sometimes we try to buy tickets and we have to wait. Sometimes we get there and the event has already started. Well, Game Time will fix that. All you got to do is go download the app, right? The Game Time app. Here's what happens. They have a curation process that'll get you right to the information that you need and get you the tickets that you want since you're already late. And they specialize in people buying last minute tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code. I'm going to spell it for you. LOCKEDONNFL, all one word, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, Big Sarge, it's time for keys to victory. Since you're the guest of honor, you go first. What are the keys to victory for the Texans to win like you already done told me they're going to win?
Hey, man, listen, I know that I'm just saying, I'm just excited to see this Houston Texans team get a victory and head into the bye week. This is a divisional game, and this is the very first time I've ever seen DeMeco Ryans take a loss this hard. Like he even said it on a show that, this one is hard to get over as far as the loss that they had against the Tennessee Titans. That's a team that they're not supposed to lose to. And every player in that locker room. Plus, I mean, the Texans just really don't. The Texans players don't like the other teams in their division. Like they really just they don't. And Joe Mixon, now that he's here, he really does not. And so with the opportunity for them to be able to get back on track, get themselves back on track, have that good feeling going into the bye week, and establish that dominance, get that dominance back, and go ahead and get another step closer to the AFC South. I mean, listen, I know that those games between the Jags, they're dog fights, but the key to victory, the main key is Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter. Tell Trevor Lawrence he ain't gonna be able to plant.
I know it. Yeah, you're right. And I'm afraid of that. They do a pretty good job of getting rid of that ball. He has that non-throwing shoulder injury in that AC joint. You got these big old Lawrence Taylor shoulder pads on, so I know they're going to be careful with him. But the thing for me with Trevor is, he can get out of trouble. He kind of gets on my nerves a little bit when he reverses out over his left shoulder. That's a problem for me because now you not only reduce the field to half the field, you reduced your vision to half. You got to reset your eyes. Mm-hmm. Whereas usually if he opens up and bails, he can still be looking down the field. So that's a habit that he needs to break a little bit. I think the key to beating the Jaguars is to run the football. Yeah, that's it. And if you're going to be stubborn and think that okay, their safeties aren't playing well this year, I'm going to try them. Then you got to deal with Trayvon Walker. And then you got to deal with an occasional blitz from somebody. And then you got to deal with Joshua Hines-Allen because y'all offensive line ain't playing that great either. And so the key is I hope for y'all's sake that Slowick doesn't get caught up and happy with trying to let CJ get off now that Nico is finally back. Mm-hmm. The key to beating Jacksonville, you got to bust them in their face in the middle and the interior. And once everybody starts coming up, that's when you can start hitting your running backs and your tight ends and occasionally a wide receiver. But with Jacksonville, you almost have to beat them the way the Dallas Cowboys under Jimmy Johnson in the 90s beat people. That's their Achilles to out-tough them because they have gotten smoked in games with Detroit and Buffalo, and all they did was just punch them right in the stomach. So that is something the Jaguars don't want to see, and I don't think they're going to see it. So here's what I think is going to happen. I think they're going to win. I think Jacksonville going to beat y'all. And the reason why I think that is because this is exactly the kind of game that they always win that makes you scratch your head and go, why the hell they can't do that against a sorry team? So Trevor's been out. He's had 3 weeks off. They look terrible without him. Everybody wants him back. Those players, they're gonna puff up. They're gonna get popcorn up like we got our dog back. And then I think they see a window of opportunity to kind of try to create the same magic they created before. Part of it is I think they believe that Houston is their toughest game for the rest of the season, and they got 6. And if they win all of those, I think they peaked over at the way the Texans were playing, and I think they looked at that schedule. And they said, okay, if they go 1-4 the rest of the way and we win out, we win the tiebreaker. That leaves us all 8-9. And we win the tiebreaker because we're 5-1 in the division. The Jaguars have only played 2 division games. 4 out of the next 6 games are against 2 of them against Tennessee, 1 against the Colts, and 1 of them here Sunday. And this is the one that is the hardest one, and that's why I think they're gonna win. Sarge.
Wait, 2 things. One, we're coming up on Christmas here pretty soon, right?
Yep.
And you know what they say, right? If and buts was candy and nuts, the world would be a happy place, right? Christmas time would be so much better, right? And 2, you're a veteran, correct? You served, right?
Yes.
Thank you for your service. But I also need to give you the PTSD hotline because you're suffering. you're suffering from PTSD right now, or you're going through some type of mental health experience. And listen, I understand. I suffer from them too. So because if you think that one, the Houston Texans ain't gonna win another game for the rest of the season.
No, they can win one. They can win one. If we beat them, they can win one. Even if they win one, that gives them 8 wins.
Okay, so let's just talk about this one. No, Trevor Lawrence can peel out, and guess what he's going to run into? Danielle Hunter. Peel out the other way. You're going to run into Will Anderson. Okay, so you bought the time. So how you going to beat Derek Stingley? You know Kamari Lassiter is on the other side, and he's a dog, and you got a linebacker in the middle that knows your plays better than Trevor Lawrence knows his own plays. Okay, on the offense side of the ball, Nico hungry, Joe Mixon hungry, Tank Dell hungry. So Bobby, especially with the way that he's been getting grilled, and we grilled him this week, and anytime CJ is on the field, I believe that the Houston Texans will not lose a game no matter who they play in, because although they had that epic collapse against the Detroit Lions, they still had the Detroit Lions 23-7 at the half, the best team in football that, if I'm not mistaken, the last time y'all played them, y'all lost 52-6.
Yeah, all of that. All of that's good. So let me pull some stuff out. I got that number to that hotline, by the way. I'll probably call it once a month. You know that. So I don't need your help with that hotline, but I tell you this. I do need you to tell me the last time I saw you whooping up on somebody like that on social media, that was Peter Bukowski. Yeah. And then later on that week, CJ Stroud had the worst game he ever had. So I'm going to go read those tweets with Peter Bukowski. Matter of fact, I'm going to call Peter as soon as we get on. I said, he did it to me. The Sarge just tried to talk me down like I'm going to just sit here.
I was right about that game. They lost that game because time management from the coach.
But that boy had the worst game he ever had up there now. And that's what it was. He was questioning how good CJ was. And CJ went up there, and you should have saw. I know you saw those tweets. He was tweeting the whole time, man. He was going off. Oh, wow. I was like, man, you need to stop. I told him one time, I said, you need to leave Sarge alone, man. But
I don't care nothing about Peter. He know that I said that. He know that I was right. Listen, hold on, Wig. Wait, let me move. You see this? I am married to a Green Bay Packers fan. I know the Packers better than Peter do.
Big Sarge, boy, we got to do it again, man. We got to do it again. Glad to have you on the network, man. I was a real big fan of your work. Let everybody know where they can find you, man. Y'all can find me at Shop Talking Wig on X or somewhere on the PTSD hotline. I don't know about this. Where they can find you at, Sarge, man?
Hey, look, they can find me on the app formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah.
And Big Sarge Sports with a Z at the end. And I mean, shoot, Wig, you probably can find me on Fat Boy Anonymous because, I'm hungry right now.
Yeah, I mentioned them beans. You've been sweating ever since the first 2 minutes of the show. All right, Big Sarge. Hey, man, Locked On Jaguars, Locked On Texans. We appreciate y'all. I would appreciate y'all if y'all come on over to Locked On NFL, too. It's 2 shows. Tyler Rowland in the morning. In the AM show, he will wake you up with all the biggest stories using the help of local experts. And I do the same in the barbershop in the afternoon. Make sure you check on Locked On NFL. It is your team every day. And we appreciate you on the Locked On Podcast Network. For Big Sarge, for Tony Wiggins, Texans, Jaguars, we will get it on this weekend. Until then, you guys take care. We'll see you next time.